You find the perfect used RV, and so you happily drop $500 to $1,000 and hire a certified RV inspector. The report comes back and ooh, there are a lot of issues on this one. You've already dropped $1,000 into this thing, and so you're financially anchored, you're emotionally invested. What do? Do you walk away from it and waste that money, or do you buy a lemon? Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. What I just described, I think we can all relate to. I mean, certified RV inspectors, they are great. But before you spend a dime, what I'm advocating here is that you do your own, we'll call it a pre-inspection. You know, 10 years ago when I bought my first RV, you could have sold me a lemon and I wouldn't have known it because I knew nothing about RVs. And so in today's video, I'm going to share what I've learned over the last 10 years so that if you're looking to buy an RV, particularly a used one, you can take some of these techniques and weed out the duds. And I'll just mention that this is probably going to be the last video on the channel featuring my Imagine XLS before it heads off to the new owner. And so I figure, well, what better way to send it off than tear it apart with our own eyes? So let's start on the outside. And the very first thing that I would do is connect the RV to city water and shore power if possible. And that way, while you're doing your pre-inspection, if there's any kind of slow leaks or anything like that, it'll come to light by the time you're done. Also check that the battery disconnect, the solar disconnects, all those are disengaged so that everything's going to be operational. And then, of course, you can also make sure that the propane is turned on, and that way, if there's any gas leaks, those will come to light as well. And by the way, folks, you don't necessarily need any expensive tools to complete this pre-inspection. You know, I just mentioned the propane gas leak detector. That's certainly helpful. I'll show you a couple others throughout the video, including a temperature gun, an electrical tester. The only ones that I really think you need are a flashlight, a really good solid flashlight that's nice and bright. I'll put a link to all these things down below. Really, the main tool that you need is your eyes. And so as I'm doing this DIY pre-inspection, the first thing that I would look at is the frame and the running gear. And so I'm going to go up here and look at the coupler, and I'm looking for the welds right here at the coupler to make sure there aren't any cracks. And you can see all the welds look nice and solid. Very nice. And then I slide over here to where the A-frame meets the rest of the RV frame. And this is a common failure point right up here. So I'm looking at these welds and all those look really nice. Check on both sides. Then I continue underneath. And again, I'm just using my eyes. I'm looking carefully at the welds, making sure there's no cracks. Sometimes there's going to be a little bit of surface rust, and that's fine. I'm looking at the I-beam there, looking at these outriggers here, making sure that they're nice and straight. And so I take my time looking at the frame all the way around the entire RV and everything attached to it, like the outriggers. I'm looking for bends, cracks and welds, excessive rust, things like that. And then I hop over to the running gear. Take a look at the tires and check the date codes and see. You know, most experts agree that if you're approaching 5 years, the tires probably need to be replaced, even if there's plenty of tread left. Then I take a look at the actual tread itself, and you can see the tread's in really good condition on this one. But what if part of the tread was kind of bald and worn down more on one side than the other? Well, that might tell me something about the axle being out of alignment. So check the tread pattern on the tires and make sure it's nice and even. Go to all 4 tires and inspect that. Then I'm going to take a close look at the suspension. This one is leaf sprung, which is the most common. So I'm looking at the leaf springs, making sure they're somewhat of a happy face and not a frowny face. That could mean that they're overloaded perhaps. So I'm looking at that on both sides. And then I'm looking at the actual hangers up here attached to the frame. That's another common failure point where the welds start to crack. I'm also looking at the center equalizer here, making sure its attachment point is secure, that all the shackle straps here have all their bolts securely attached, that nothing's missing. And then I do take a quick look at the axles and make sure everything looks okay. It is normal for them to have a slight upward bend. And if the original axle stickers are still present, you can actually verify that they're properly rated for the specific unit. I mean, sometimes there's mix-ups, you know, in the factory and they don't discover it till years later. But the other thing that I would check on the outside is just look at your jacks, your landing gear, and make sure that they're securely mounted. These are bolted on, so pretty straightforward, but sometimes these are welded on depending on the unit. And there might be some surface rust, but I'm just making sure that everything is nice and secure there. Okay, next up on the outside, I'm looking at the outer walls, the side walls, the front, the back, and you know, fiberglass gel coat can clean up really nice and look nice and shiny, but I want to get kind of at an angle, looking down the side, and I want to look for anything like bubbles in the fiberglass, any odd ripples where it could be water damage that has, gotten behind the luan backer and caused the fiberglass to ripple. So I'm looking down this sidewall. It's completely normal, by the way, to see vertical creases where a stud is located. You'll see them all the way from top to bottom. That's completely normal. But I'm just looking for anything that's out of the ordinary that could suggest some potential water intrusion that is causing problems with the sidewalls. Now, you probably already know this, but while we're here, I'll just mention that every RV should have a manufacturer sticker like this one here, along with a tire sticker where you can check the date of manufacture, the gross vehicle weight rating, the unloaded vehicle weight, the axle spec, and all the tire specs right there. Make sure all that matches against what you're seeing in person. But going back to the pre-inspection with the sidewall, I want to pay extra attention to all the penetrations in the sidewall, whether it's a marker light, an opening there, a window, the sidewall trim right here that joins the side to the front. And I want to pay extra attention to the sealant that meets that gap right there. I want to make sure it's not cracked, that it's not missing entirely, that it's in good shape. I mean, this is something that might last 2 to 5 years, depending on how the RV is used and stored. You might have to touch it up. And so I just want to see, well, are there any areas that haven't been maintained where water could, seep from the sidewall and get behind the trim there and cause some damage? And if the sealant has failed somewhere, depending on how much time has passed, I should see the evidence of it nearby in the sidewall, whether it's bubbling, waviness, as opposed to what I'm seeing right here, just nice, true, straight sidewall all the way down the RV. And this is a really important area because if there's any water damage, that can be really expensive and pricey to fix. So I think it's really important just to take a moment, use your eyes, and really carefully look at the exterior there. Then if the RV has any slide outs, I definitely want to take a close look at them. My RV here does not have any slides, but if it did, I'd want to take a close look at all the seals. Make sure that they're overlapping properly, top to bottom, just like shingles on a roof. Make sure that these seals are not dry rotting or missing or torn in any area. And then I would run the slides in and out multiple times and make sure all those mechanisms are functioning properly. And then last, on the outside, super important, do not forget to climb up the ladder and inspect the roof. Now, as I'm up here, I'm going to very carefully walk the full roof of the RV, and I'm going to feel with my feet for any soft spots that could be on the substrate, on the plywood underneath. I'm also going to listen for any splitting sounds. That could be some hidden water damage. And then I'm going to pay attention to the actual roof membrane itself and make sure that I don't see any tears or rips, and really get up close and look for that. Then I'm going to take a very detailed look at all the penetrations on the roof and make sure that the lap sealant is adequately covering their perimeter. Now, I just reapplied lap sealant here on my roof, so there's no drama to report. But I think it's really important to get up close and just make sure that you don't see any screw heads, that, in this case, the bracket for this solar panel, that it's completely covered in that lap sealant so that no water could get up under there and wreak havoc. And then there's also going to be a different sealant along the side right here where the membrane hits this trim. And so I want to make sure that that sealant right there, there's no gaps or cracks in it. Now, before I go on in for the inside part of the inspection, there's a very important step that I want to mention, and that is to make sure you're properly caffeinated. But seriously, I don't know about you all, but sometimes I'm just not firing on all cylinders, and it's because I have not had my coffee yet. And it can't just be any old drip coffee. It's got to be espresso. And so I want to say a huge thanks to Outin for sending the Mino and Fino and sponsoring this portion of the video. The Fino is a battery-powered burr grinder, and the Mino is a portable battery-powered espresso maker. That's right, you can take this anywhere, even if you don't have power. They take up almost zero space in the RV, they don't drain my house batteries, and they pull a very nicely extracted hot shot of espresso in minutes, no matter where I'm camping. So if you love real espresso on the road or off the grid, then check out the link in the description. Now, let's get caffeinated and head inside. Now, first thing I do as I walk in is I take a big, deep breath. I give it the smell test. Does it smell like mildew? Does it smell like an old basement? Or does it smell like somebody just set off an air freshener bomb to cover something up? So I use my nose and I just smell, what does it smell like in here? Then I pull out my flashlight and I start walking around the entire RV. And I'm looking with the flashlight along the perimeter where the floor meets the sidewall. And I'm looking for any signs of water damage. I would see crinkles in the wallpaper, bubbles, ripples, things like that. And I'm going all the way around the perimeter, working my way up to the ceiling. And I'm checking the same thing there, the ceiling where it meets the wall. And I'm looking for any signs whatsoever of water intrusion. So the flashlight is my friend. Then I'm also, as I'm walking around, I'm feeling for soft spots on the floor where there might be some hidden water damage and there's a soft spot. And so I'm carefully feeling what I'm stepping on. And you never know what you're going to find. And so I just take my time and carefully use the flashlight, trace every wall where it meets the ceiling or a side wall, and just look for any signs whatsoever of water damage. Remember, one of the first things I did before I even got started was connect the RV to city water. So it's been pressurized now for at least 30 to 45 minutes. And so I'm going to take my flashlight now and look very carefully in the cabinet at all the water supply lines and see if there's even the slightest drip anywhere coming from any of those supply lines. Then I'm actually going to turn the water on and repeat the test and make sure that when the water's running, I don't see any drips whatsoever on the drain side. And so I'm looking very carefully with my flashlight here. And I'm going to repeat this process for all the sinks, for the shower, for even the toilet, and see if I see any drips whatsoever. And really the reoccurring theme is just to slow down, take my time, use the flashlight, and use my eyes. And then I repeat the same process here in the bathroom. I fill up the toilet bowl to make sure the seal on the gasket there holds, and then I turn on my flashlight. And again, I'm just looking for even the slightest drip that might be leaking out of one of those connections there. Since I turned the gas on earlier, I'm going to check the water heater here and open up the shower full hot and let that run and make sure that I'm getting a flame right there. And you can see it's heating up the water. And that way I know all the appliances work. Another thing I can do when I'm checking the sinks is use the stopper to plug up the drain and then fill up the sink to about halfway and just make sure that I don't see any drips underneath. And then another thing I want to check while I'm in the bathroom here is the black tank flush. That's the braided hose that's coming in from the outside there. And it is code that there has to be a backflow preventer, an air gap essentially. And usually it's up in the bathroom cabinet all the way at the top right there, and they're notorious for leaking. And so I just want to run some water through that black tank flush from the outside and make sure that I don't see any drips coming out, especially up top there. And again, throughout the whole time, I'm opening every cabinet door and I'm carefully using the flashlight to see if I see any signs of water damage whatsoever. I'm also going to check all the appliances. I'm going to fire up the oven, check the range hood, the fan there, the microwave, the refrigerator, turn that on. And that's where having one of these infrared temperature guns can really be handy, because you can make sure that it's cooling down to the proper temperature. I'll also check the air conditioner, make sure it's cooling properly. So I'll turn that on, and basically I'm looking for a temperature differential between the return plenum right here and the supplies of about 20 degrees or more. And the Furion here, typically I get closer to 25 degrees, but I want to make sure it's cooling properly. Same thing with the furnace. That's under the refrigerator here. I'm going to fire that up and make sure I'm getting proper heat out of all the supply vents. Of course, I'll also check all the 12-volt appliances like this roof vent here. And you know, guys, a lot of this stuff sounds like common sense, but in the excitement when you're looking at an RV to buy, I mean, some of this stuff we just forget about. I can use a real basic electrical tester like this one here, and I can plug it into all the outlets, even the GFCI ones like this one here, and actually test it and make sure it works. I can also check the control panel here and make sure that everything works, especially those things with motors like the awning here. So I'll run that all the way out and back in. If I had slides, I'd do the same thing, run them in and out. I can check the basic lights there, inside and outside. At the very end, I'm actually going to disconnect from city water and shore power, and then I'll test the water pump. And when I do that, when I turn the water pump on, I should hear it cycle for a few seconds as it pressurizes the lines. But as long as I don't have any fixtures open, any water running throughout the RV, I shouldn't hear that water pump randomly turning on for a few seconds here and there. If I do, it means I might have a leak somewhere. Basically, anything that's electronic, whether it's 120 volt or 12 volts, I'm going to turn it on and test it out and make sure it works. Okay, so everything I've showed you so far, they're basic things that I think we can all do ourselves. I mean, certainly we could take this a lot further and I could give more specific examples, but I think you can see the pattern. It's basically I'm just testing everything out that I can reasonably test. And I'm using my eyes, and more importantly, using the flashlight to help my eyes see better. Now, if you do this DIY pre-inspection and the rig you're looking at passes with flying colors, but perhaps you're looking for some additional assurance, or maybe it's a very expensive, six-figure RV, I do think it makes a lot of sense at that point to hire the certified RV inspector, pay for the full inspection, and at least at this point, you've already done the pre-inspection, and so you know there's a good chance it's going to pass. Maybe there'll be some small issues here and there, but it's not like you're going into it blindly, spending $1,000 not knowing how things are going to pan out. And I think in those scenarios, you can get very wrapped up into it, knowing that you've already spent that $1,000, and it just kind of clouds your judgment. Now, I will say this, if you're looking at a new RV or even a used RV on a dealer lot, they may not let you do your own pre-inspection on their lot. And so you might just have to hire a certified RV inspector in that case. But I will say that one huge advantage of hiring a certified RV inspector is that if they do find small issues, because let's face it, every RV, they're made by human hands, and so a lot of them have some small issues. But in that inspection report, if they hand it to the dealer, chances are that dealer is going to get those small issues fixed very quickly. It's like they're bumping you up to the front of the line for repair because they want to get that RV sold and off their lot. And so I do think that is one major benefit, especially when you're looking at new RVs, used RVs that are on dealer lots. You're going to get it fixed a lot faster. Well, anyways, it's going to be bittersweet saying goodbye to the Imagine XLS. This RV has been absolutely amazing over the last 2+ years. But I wanted to make this video because, like I said at the beginning, when I first started RVing 10 years ago, I knew nothing about what to look for when buying an RV. And so I thought, what kind of video could I make that would be helpful if I could go back then and watch it? So I hope you guys found this video helpful. If there are some other things that I left out concerning a pre-inspection that you can think of, definitely drop your comments and suggestions down below. I will also include links to some of these inexpensive products that I mentioned that you can use to do your own pre-inspection. So I appreciate you using those to help support the channel. As always, thanks for watching.